And so I gave you one example of sadness. I'd like to give you one quick example of anger. This is actually my favorite example. I'll be talking about it tomorrow night at length. Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha was accused of wrongdoing. One of the worst humiliating scandals a Muslim woman can ever go through, our mother went through. Right? No woman here can imagine those kinds of horrible things being said about her. Not to mention, an entire city of people are talking about it. Not to mention that. And at the end of it all, I'll give you the riddle, but I won't give you the answer today. At the end of it all, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came and sat next to her and said, if you're guilty, admit it and Allah will forgive, basically. And if you're innocent, Allah will prove you're innocent. She had been crying for almost 3 consecutive days by then. Rasulullah came and sat next to her, and it's been a month that the Prophet didn't even sit next to her. This was after a month, the first time Rasulullah sat next to her. وَلَمْ يَجْلِسْ عِنْدِي مُنْذُ قِيلَ مَا قِيلَ. Since the word had begun, he had not sat next to me, she says. When he sat next to her, he said, if you're guilty and if you're innocent. 2 options. If you're innocent, Allah will prove you're innocent. If you're guilty, admit it and Allah will forgive. She had been crying for how long? What did I say? So what emotion is that? Sadness. But she says, the moment he said it, قَلَصَ دَمْعِي, my tears dried up. حَتَّى لَا أُحِسُّ مِنْهُ قَطْرًا, I couldn't feel a single drop. The tears are gone. What did you say? What do you mean if? My own husband telling me if I'm innocent? If I'm guilty? What are you trying to say? That sadness turned into what? Anger. Anger at who? And her mother and her father were sitting next to her. And she told her dad, answer him. He said, I don't know what to say. She told her mom, Ajibi, answer him. She says, Allah, Wallahi, la adri ma aqul li Rasulillah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I don't know, I swear to God, I don't know what to say. And then she's even more mad. She was already mad at Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now who's she angry at? Her parents. Now Quran will tell us, if you raise your voice to the Messenger of Allah, لا ترفعوا أصواتكم فوق صوت النبي. Don't raise your voice to the voice of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because if you do, what happens? أن تحبط أعمالكم وأنتم لا تشعرون. All your good deeds are taken away. All your good deeds are taken away if you simply what? Raise your voice to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Quran also tells us, لا تقل لهما أف ولا تنهرهما وقل لهما قولا كريما. Don't talk to your parents, don't even let them see a sign of frustration on your forehead. And whenever you speak to them, don't scold them and speak to them in a dignified fashion. So there are 3 people in front of her. Her mother, her father, and the Messenger of Allah. And the 3 people, Quran says, you better watch how you speak in front of them. Those 3 people are in front of her. And she's experiencing what emotion? Anger. Ho, 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 ho. When you read this part of the hadith in Bukhari, when I first read it, I said, what? No way. No way. I gotta read that again. She yelled at all 3 of them. And she says, she quoted the Quran to the Prophet. And she says, I didn't even know much Quran, but I said, you people remind me of the story of Yusuf. And I'll have to say to you what the father of Yusuf said. Sabrun Jamil. I have to have beautiful patience. She's angry, she's scolding 3 people, which 3 you know now. And she says, this is my what? This is my patience. And by the way, she compared what they're saying, and she basically said, you people believe this filthy lie against me. You won't even believe what I say. None of this is true. She's speaking out of anger. They don't believe it, but she says, you people believe it. You people accuse me. You people don't trust me. That's how she spoke to them. And she quoted this, by the way, when she says, you remind me of what the father of Yusuf had to say. Who is she comparing them to? Did you think about that? If she's going to say Sabrun Jamil, they're being compared with the brothers of Yusuf who came forward with a lie. This is what she did. No ayah of the Quran came down, watch your mouth. You better take back what you just said. You don't quote Quran like that to the Messenger of Allah. He received the Quran. You don't Quran lecture him. You don't talk to your parents that way. No ayah came down about her outburst. Nothing. And she wasn't even done. When she gave that speech, she turned her back and lied down as if to say, I'm done talking to you. Wow, Mom. Well, she's our mother, so what are we learning from this? The question is, if this happened in your home, a daughter in the house got accused of something or the other, humiliating accusation, and she had an outburst, and her husband will say, you need to watch it. You can't speak to your parents that way or my parents that way. You shouldn't speak to your husband this way. You need to have sabr. What kind of Islam do you follow? Astaghfirullah. You raise your voice like, wouldn't you get that lecture? The first one to get that lecture should have been who? Our mother. And when the ayat did come, the ayat did not come to give a case against her. The 10 ayat came to defend her. 10 ayat came to defend her. Radiallahu ta'ala anha. It's okay when a woman's dignity is questioned, when a woman's chastity is questioned, and she can't take it and she has an outburst. That doesn't mean she doesn't have sabr. That means she's as normal as Aisha radiallahu anha. Our religion does not expect us to become angels. It acknowledges that Allah made us human beings. Our emotions, we're entitled to them. This, by the way, what I just shared with you, please do not use this at home to turn into the Incredible Hulk in your family and say, Nu'man Ali Khan gave this speech and now I'm gonna... But I do speak on behalf of people that are emotionally and psychologically oppressed in their homes. And then they are told when they have emotions that they have a spiritual problem. They do not have a spiritual problem. Our religion does not teach that. That is not sabr. That is a false definition of sabr that has made its way into our conversations and has created a lot of oppression, in my opinion. It's just created a lot of oppression. And so every chance I get, I try to revitalize and share this message again, because it is something I feel that we need. It's okay for you to be sad. It's okay for you to be angry for legitimate reasons. It's okay for you to even have an outburst. You're not going to go to hell because you raised your voice. You're not. Relax. Don't be so hard on yourself. People around you are very quick to send you to hell. They're very quick to send you to hell. Allah will ask you about this. You have done da-da-da-da-da. Wow, really? Because the revelation came to you to let you know how her interrogation is going to go. Don't pass judgment on people, and don't be a harsh judge on yourself. Allah Azza wa Jal is merciful. And you know, the last thing I'll share with you about our mother Aisha radiallahu anha on this, and I'm done, I'm absolutely done, is she shared this story many years later. She could have skipped this part. She could have not told us that she did that. Right? Because it's embarrassing. She raised her voice to her parents. She raised her voice to the Prophet of Allah. She quoted the whole thing, word by word by word by word by word. And when she quoted it, I was expecting her to say, and I feel really bad about that. I regret that I did that. She didn't. She said no such thing. Umar radiallahu anhu one time raised his voice to the Prophet at Hudaybiyah. That happened. Did he regret it later? Oh yeah. I mean, he literally said, somebody tell my mother her son is doomed. Her son is as good as dead. I mean, he was devastated. Our mother Aisha radiallahu anha is not devastated. Why not? And she has a very clear understanding of this deen. And she honors our messenger alayhi salatu wasalam, but she understands she did not cross a single line. She didn't do something wrong. As a matter of fact, to the contrary, she says, وَلَا شَأْنِي فِي نَفْسِي كَانَ أَحْقَرْ مِنْ أَنْ يَتَكَلَّمَ اللَّهُ فِيَّ فِي أَمْرٍ يُتْلَى. She says, I used to think I wasn't worth Quran coming down for me. But it did. Which means I am worth it, basically, is what she's saying. That's how she spoke. She wasn't hard on herself. Don't be hard on yourself. Be like your mother Aisha. Stop beating yourself up. Stop condemning yourself. Stop living a life of guilt, constant guilt. Allah forgives. Make istighfar if you've made a mistake, and move on with your life. Don't let that guilt overshadow everything you do. It will ruin not just you, it will ruin the people around you. You're not going to be able to have normal relationships if you live in that kind of guilt. You won't just be sorrowed yourself, you'll become a source of sorrow for people around you. Don't do that. Become a person of gratitude. Allah has given us in this life, Allah has given us a chance to make up for our mistakes. This is why we're still alive. If your chance was over, you wouldn't be alive anymore. The fact that He gave you another breath, another chance, is because He still has the door open for you. He still has love and mercy for you. If He considered your case closed, then we'd be doing your janazah right now. That's just the fact of it. May Allah Azza wa Jal help us really internalize the inspiring, beautiful message of His book, and not become more judgmental than Allah's book itself towards one another. May Allah keep us from being oppressive to one another, especially within the context of our families. Jazakumullahu khairan, every one of you. I'm so grateful that I had this opportunity. I don't know how long I'm going to stick around. I think they have a schedule for me, but it's so awesome to see all of you. I wish I had time to engage as many of you in conversation as possible. I will promise you one thing though. I have my khutbah. This is the masjid I have khutbah in, right? Is this the masjid I have khutbah in tomorrow? Here? Okay, so here I have a certain policy for khutub. I give the khutbah, and then right after the khutbah, I usually go outside and I give a chance to our mothers and our daughters to ask whatever questions they want, because I feel even though this is an exceptional community, I feel across the ummah, our mothers, daughters, and sisters don't have as much of an opportunity to engage with the du'at, the scholars, etc., as the men do. So I'd like to give them priority first, inshallah ta'ala. So that's what even if we don't get a chance to speak today, I will make it a point to stay outside as long as I can tomorrow, inshallah, to do that. Barakallahu li wa lakum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.